Welcome to Dan Really Likes Wine. Last week in our very first episode we had a look at 4 superstar red blends, 4 wines I really loved. This week 4 more wines that I really love as well, but not necessarily 4 wines that other people will, because across South Africa there are a lot of people who really don't like Chardonnay. My friend Caroline belongs to something called the ABC Club, anything but Chardonnay. And for people who don't like Chardonnay, it's largely because they've drunk Chardonnay and it feels like they've been hit in the mouth with a large plank of wood. A lot of early Chardonnay had just far too much taste to barrel in it, and as a result people didn't like it. But if you find the right Chardonnay, and there's plenty of it in South Africa, you're in for a very special experience. So I've got 4 great Chardonnays here, and this is the first of them. It's from Lismore in Greyton. Samantha O'Keefe is a Californian. I first met her about 4 or 5 years ago. I went to visit her estate. I'd heard a lot about it. I drank a little of her wine, but I didn't realize what a cool operation she actually had. She does make a little red, but it's her white for which she is celebrated, and rightly so. She's making some extraordinary wine, and in terms of the ratings, read into them what you will, but she consistently sits mid to high 90s around the world for the white wine she produces. The Viognier is excellent. The barrel fermented Sauvignon Blanc is superb. This Chardonnay particularly special. And what it also says, as do the others, is something that people in South Africa don't often believe, and that's that white wine doesn't have to be drunk the day after you buy it. And Chardonnay in particular has got quite a shelf life. Some of the nicest wine I've drunk this year has been Chardonnay that's been 8, 9, 10 years old. This is 4 years old, so it's been in the bottle for a nice little while, and it should be drinking very pleasantly. So this is our first wine for this week, and as you can see, it's just getting that lovely golden colour. As it gets older, it'll get more and more yellow, and or golden, I suppose the winemakers would prefer me to say, and the light catching it very nicely indeed. It's got a beautiful nose. You can pick up those sort of buttery flavours to it. Really good food wine Chardonnay. So let's see how this one goes. That's magnificent. It's really smooth. It's got quite a big mouth to it. It's not a light, delicate wine, but it's not meant to be. It just fills up your mouth. It's a really, really strong palate. Lovely and smooth. And there is that taste of wood, but it's in the background, not at the forefront. And it's just a really good example of a Chardonnay that's finding its feet, but I think it could probably go on for another 4 years, if not longer. 2012 now. I might keep the rest of the case I have of this for a little bit longer. But a really good example of a lovely South African Chardonnay with a little bit of American expertise, a touch of California combined with Greyton. The results are pretty good. All right, so that's one of them. Let's have a look at a second Chardonnay. And this one's got a bit of history to it. Now, I first met the man in question, the winemaker here, a guy called Nevolt Marais from Kranskop, again about 5-6 years ago. I was out near Robertson and I was hosting a function, and this elderly gentleman approached me and with a polite smile asked if I'd like to come and visit his winery. I'd never heard of Kranskop at that stage, and the guy didn't say much about who he was or what I did, so I wasn't too sure about going along to it. But in the end I had some time and I dropped in, and I'm very, very glad I did, because it turns out that Nevolt Marais was actually winemaker at Nederburg and won many, many, many awards for some excellent wine. This is a barrel fermented Chardonnay. This one's 2013, so it's just a touch younger than the one that Sam's bought us from Greyton. There's not a huge amount of wine made at Kranskop, but the wine that is made, as you'd expect from somebody who used to head up winemaking at Nederburg, is particularly good. Now, I tasted quite a few of his wines there. He makes a very nice Shiraz and a couple of other good reds, but this caught my eye. I haven't had it for a year or two, so I'm going to see if it's still quite as good. Light honeyish colour. It's probably slightly lighter than the first one, so it's also got a bit of time to find its feet. And a slightly different nose. That one had a slightly smoother, woodier feel. This one's got a bit more citrus to it. And a slight feel of alcohol on the nose. Let's see how that compares with the palate. A very different wine. That's got more of a grapefruit feel to it, where the other one had that more of a smoothness to it. There's not as much wood in this, and a greater feeling of fruit to it. Possibly because it is just that year younger, that would have an effect, but also it's from a very different part of the world and it's a slightly different style of Chardonnay. This one a little bit colder. I think lovely to wash down on a summer's day when you don't feel like a Sauvignon Blanc, you feel like something with a bit more substance, and this would do the job very, very nicely indeed. An expert winemaker, and he's delivered something that is particularly nice. Okay, 2 down, 2 more to go. Let's grab another glass, and this time wine that's winning a lot of awards. It's the Reserve Chardonnay. Always a good way to add a little bit to the price point, throw Reserve in front of your wine, but in this case it's well justified. It is from De Morganson, and they're a slightly hippie-ish style at De Morganson. They play music to their grapes. They believe this will help them to grow better and be nicer, happier, more well-rounded grapes. Well, it does seem to be the case, because the Chardonnay they've made, and this one in particular, has received plenty of plaudits. I'm going to see if I feel quite as positive about it. So 3rd one down, not too much difference in all of the colours, just quite light, but I suspect on the palate it'll be just a little heavier. And I'm not wrong, that is very, very Moorish. It's almost a combination of the Lismore and the Kranskop. It's got that wood, it's nice and smooth, but it also has that citrus, just a little bit of sharpness on the palate, that slight zesty feel as it just whips away off the tongue. But that is nice. So it's out of Stellenbosch, and another great addition to the wonderful collection of wine. So that's 3 Chardonnays down. And with all 3 so far, particularly if you eat it with food, if you are a member of that ABC club, if you're Caroline and you're watching and you really don't like Chardonnay, just try these. I think they might start to sway your opinion. But if they don't, and I'd be disappointed if they didn't, then maybe this last one is the way to go. So we've had 3 great Chardonnays, but this in some ways is the godfather of the lot. Now, the story of Chardonnay in South Africa is brilliant. It hasn't been made into a film yet, but it should be. Dani de Wet is the guy behind De Wetshof, and it's in a part of the world that really is made for Chardonnay. Lots and lots of limestone in the soil, and you feel that come through when you try their Chardonnays. In fact, Limestone Hill is one of the Chardonnays they make. But this is the one that's probably the most celebrated. Now, from an estate that's known for its Chardonnay, not just because of the great wine they make, but because of the backstory. It was Dani de Wet many years ago, along with Jan Boel and Coetzee, who almost got arrested, almost found himself in jail with his mate, because they smuggled the first Chardonnay cuttings into South Africa from France to make some illegal Chardonnay. They ended up getting away with it, and that is what kick-started Chardonnay in South Africa. So this is the perfect one to finish with. It is from just outside of Robertson, and this is the Bateleur Chardonnay. It's a lovely old Cape Dutch farmstead. Ah, look at that colour. It's just a touch darker than the others, and I've been looking forward to this all week, to be honest. And that's just a terrific nose. I think if you put your face close enough to your computer screen, you might actually be able to pick up the nose on that. It's that good. It's really strong, powerful, almost a sort of hint of vanilla smoothness to it on top of that bed of citrus. Oh, this is going to be lovely. And it really, really is. It's a terrific mouthful of wine. It's smooth, it's big, no sharp edges. It slides across the palate quite delightfully. And there's a very good reason that the De Wetshof brand is celebrated for its Chardonnay, and this in particular, it is quite outstanding wine. So great quartet of Chardonnay. This probably my pick of the 4, but it's a close call. All 4 are excellent, and all 4 just slightly different, and that's the beauty of Chardonnay and the beauty of all wine. Every winemaker, every terroir will combine for something just that little bit different. Throw in vintage, and you've just got so much to explore, and that's exactly what we do on Dan Really Likes Wine. If you liked any of them, head over to danreallylikeswine.com, and the guys at Port to Port will be able to deliver that wine to you in the next few days. If you'd like to try some Chardonnay and try and get over your fear, then one of these 4 should do the job. Cheers.